Welcome to my new coaching series. From bronze to platinum, I will cover every role within each bracket of play. So this is how it works. You go to my Facebook page, facebook.com/Valkrin. I will have a status update for the role that I'm doing that day. This video is going to be on gold jungling, so I chose someone from the Facebook status where I was asking for all gold main junglers to respond to. What I'm doing now is I will not only just have that one main role person in the Skype call, but I'll also have one spectator that will be randomly selected from these statuses to also come into the Skype call and can ask questions as well. So if you want to participate in these coaching sessions, do not hesitate in following my Facebook, because that's how you'd be informed in that. The future coaching sessions will be streamed on my live stream, twitch.tv/Valkrin. Do not hesitate in following that as well, because that's going to be another way you can participate in my coaching sessions. So this coaching session was gold jungle main Wukong. Enjoy. Long video, 1 hour. In the description below, I broke down each of the main topics that you should definitely check out. So if you can't watch the whole video, do not hesitate in looking in the description and finding the topics you want to look for and really work on. So enjoy, guys. Let's go ahead and hone in on what you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, so in this game, you're playing Wukong. What
Yes.
runes do you usually play with Wukong?
This game, I think I went move speed quints and attack speed reds, but it might just be full AD.
Okay, yeah, I generally prefer to go full AD on Wukong, just because his AD ratios are pretty decent for his early game.
Yeah.
It can help his early ganks. Okay, so this is what I typically do. The first step of my lesson is I go ahead and walk you through the early game of what I would do, and then we just kind of take a look at what you do. So
Okay.
when you're on blue side, you have generally two choices as a jungler. You can start on the side that your bottom lane is closest to get the strongest leash. So for this game, it would be red buff, obviously, would be the closest one to your bottom lane, so that would give you the fastest leash. But the thing you have to consider is if you start red on blue side, that means at 3 minutes you're going to be close to top side. So the real decision comes down to, do you need to early gank top or not? And your top laner this game is Ryze, their top laner this game is Singe. So it's two players who are going to have teleport. Now, ganking top lane when it's just two teleports can be kind of risky, because you need enough damage to secure the kill, and it depends on the matchup. Ryze versus Singe, because Ryze can outpoke Singe, generally that's going to be okay. But I have a feeling the Singe is actually going to proxy. Whenever you see a Singe with Ghost teleport, you always have to consider the fact that they can proxy. And generally the place that they'll proxy is they like to sneak here at level 1, and they'll proxy the wave right here, because this is the furthest away from like the jungle possible, and they just clear the wave and they recall or they run. It's pretty difficult to deal with unless you anticipate it right away. So because top lane can be, in my mind, because top lane can be considered a problem, I probably would start red this game, then go to blue, obviously as a second buff, then gank top. And you also have to consider that, yeah, Singe could try to proxy at level 1. So
You're gonna
in
see
the
some
area.
crazy stuff.
Yeah. This is kind of strange for Singe to be here, but
Yeah,
the
he's
other thing
crazy.
Is, yeah. The other thing is, you're gonna find him here. I just want to
Yeah.
see how this goes. So you kind of see him, but you back off immediately because you're not sure where everyone else is. But you have a ward here, so I guess you should have just beat on him a little bit just to force him back. But I guess it was close enough to 155 that you didn't want to take damage. I don't know. I would have tried to get Ryze's attention and just try to get Singe out of your jungle, because you know he's gonna proxy, or you know he's gonna like invade with a jungler. You just want him out of your jungle. But here's another thing I do. In your mind, like in champion select, in the loading screen, you need to figure out, like I said, what lanes you're going to try to early gank, which side you're going to start on. Because there are a lot of things, there's a lot of prep work you need to do. As a jungler, I watch the buff that I don't immediately start on. So if you're going to start red this game, what I would do is I would have my mid laner sit around mid. Like, this is a good spot to sit as a mid laner, generally in this area, because then you can see when someone on the other team goes through each side of the bushes. You can see invades coming through the mid lane on some circumstances. And as a jungler, if you're going to start red on blue side, you want to watch this bush and just wait here, and then have your top laner watch this entrance as well. And what you want to do is, since the trinket wards are now usable as early as 30 seconds, as a jungler, you want to encourage your team to use their trinket wards generally as early as possible, because they'll be back up before the first gank as long as they use it before the 1 minute mark. But what you want to do as a jungler, if you're on blue side and you're going to start red, you need to ward this bush here or directly on your blue in the bush over there, because if you ward it at 130, it'll last until 2 minutes 30 seconds, and that gives you enough time to see if they're going to invade or if they took your buff. And that's really important to do, because if they did invade and they took your buff and you're not pushing them off of them, then you need to go invade and take one of their buffs. There's like a lot of counterplay to that you need to consider, and that's what I do, and it really helps out the early game.
Yeah, I often try to ward my other buff, but I often ward it at 55. Maybe I should wait longer and try and.
You can do it. Yeah, I do it. I do it at 130 because you ward it at 130, then you run to the buff that you're going to start at, and you have plenty of time to get there. Your bottom lane doesn't do the best leash, but
it's okay.
Yeah, it's all right. As Wukong, you have a decent level 1 with your E, so it's not like you can definitely jungle without a leash. Some junglers have a hard time. So, okay, the other thing that I like that you're doing right here is you're skipping Wraiths, and you can go to Wolves, which is going to be closer to your next buff. That way, if they invade your blue, you're really close to it already.
Yeah, I will do that. Almost always.
Yeah. Where did you use your trinket ward, by the way? Because you did use it. Is it the one up here?
Yeah, no, not that one. The one that was in the bush that you were trying to say.
Okay, so you did that super early though. How early did you do it?
At around 40, I think.
Okay.
I get it into the bush because I'm scared of Pantheon invading me right now.
Yeah, that's another reason why you definitely want to use, like, I don't know, like I really do think using the ward at 130 is the best way to go. You could save it potentially if you were more afraid of them ganking you after their first buff. You could save your trinket ward just to have it up, and like use it on the other side of the wall. So you're gonna fast gank top. This is potentially, like, if Singe Ghost in time, I guess he did pop Ghost, but a lot of action going on. I'm going to slow it down. Let's see how this gank goes. So he's in a really bad situation. This is almost guaranteed first blood. Yeah, this is just you being at the right place at the right time. Singe was just, I don't know. He kind of made a critical error in trying to 1v1 your Rise, but that's a bad matchup for Singe early game if he doesn't like do something really aggressive. So that ended up paying off. Here's the other thing. After you do one gank, as a jungler, like I usually will just use one smite and one camp, and then gank immediately after. But because you were so low on potions, doing the white here wasn't the best idea, because now you're not going to be in a healthy enough range to gank immediately. You're going to have to recall, basically, because you never want to gank when you're below half HP as a jungler. You just don't want to do it this early into the game. The chances of you feeding double buffs are very high. So it looks like you're just going to try to farm it out a little bit and then recall.
Yeah.
I would have probably preferred for you to have not done the white and try to set up a gank mid lane on the Talon with the help of... Because like, a lane that has CC, even as an early game jungler like Wukong, you don't have CC, but if you're ganking a lane with CC, it is still really easy to get kills because you have enough damage. An Ahri that lanes Charm on a Talon like this could be an easily a kill or a flash burned on Talon. So, I mean, you're level 4 now instead of being level 3 from doing those 2 camps, but that's just an alternate route that you could have done. And it looks like you're going to double golems right away. Okay, you hesitate, and then you're going to wraiths. You lost your red buff too. That's the other thing. Like, if you're gonna start red buff, you want to make sure you're doing your ganks immediately after, because you're ganking with blue, but because you don't have red anymore, this gank won't be as effective. That's part of the reason why some junglers start blue, is so they'll have a longer duration on their red. You save your E, almost enough you could flash for it. Very close. You're probably gonna die, maybe. Okay, no, you're all right. I thought Ignite was applied a little bit later, but you're totally golden. I think actually if Talon had turned around and used more than just his Q, you might have actually died. But
I waited for his W to be down to gank.
Okay, nice. Let's go gank then. All right. So nice job. So yeah, you're doing pretty well. The thing to note is your bottom lane is losing hard. or not. They're not rather losing hard, but here's how I consider bottom lane. Whenever you have an Ezreal on your team, okay, it's really hit and miss. Like it really is hit or miss because Ezreal is very early game based, and when Ezreal's in a lane where he's losing early, that's a problem. That's a problem lane. But you got your Ryze ahead and you got your mid laner ahead. But the main problem in this game that I can already foresee is the fact that their Lucian is getting a lead on an Ezreal. And Ezreal is a champion where he doesn't scale well. Ezreal is just not a decent AD carry late game compared to Lucian and the other AD carries that have become popular. So that's definitely my main priority at this point. Like if I had followed the same footsteps that you've done and gotten a kill top and a kill mid, I would be now like focused on bottom lane because theoretically your top laner and mid laner should now win by themselves. Of course, that's not always the case, but that's what you should focus on as bottom lane now. You want to even every lane out because you just really have to try to eliminate all chances they have of coming back if you want to, just have complete control of the game. And having complete control of the game is generally the best way to play a jungler. And you're doing really well so far. You have 2 kills. But your laners only got assist each. And it looks like Ryze is dead top. Almost certainly going to die unless... Well, Singe could just ghost and fling him. Yeah, he's dead. So the advantage that you had top lane is now kind of equalized. Actually, it's probably more in favor of Singe now because the kill that you got earlier was when Singe was much lower level. And kills are close to level 6 have higher tendencies to snowball because you get a kill at level 6 and it's easy to get to level 7, and then when they come back to lane, if you do an all-in while they're still like level 5 or something like that, then you have an ultimate and they don't. But it looks like Ryze did hit 6. But yeah, top lane might be a problem because Singe will be able to then just start proxying, and then you might have to deal with that later. But like I said, bottom lane should be your main focus. So it's 7-14 now, 7-13, your red's back up. You're kind of afraid of the Pantheon, so I guess you're going to ward to make sure Pantheon doesn't just like counter you.
I think I'm also waiting for my smite to be up.
Okay, that's true too. I would have actually probably gotten a recall off. I would have probably put the ward down and then just recalled if you were this low, but only because you'd be very, very low. You're going to have to recall after anyways, but getting an Elder Lizard faster is going to be quite nice. So you're going to get this. You're going to be too low to go to your blue, so you're going to recall. Elder Lizard now is totally fine. Bottom lane, like I said, you need to use your ultimate bottom as soon as possible just because of how it's going. Like, it's just Lucian with 2 kills against an Ezreal, like I said, that's just going to be a problem. And Ahri, it looks like, is about to get all in. Let's see if she burns ult and uses it the right way, she'll be okay, but I think she's going to die. Okay, she's okay. Talon misplayed that. Talon saved Rake and used ultimate too late. Talon should have gone and immediately done the combo before Pantheon was even there. And I think potentially Ahri could have died there, but it was well played. And here, you got to use your ultimate right away. Okay, you're focusing the Talon. You need to finish that off. Now you're on the Pantheon. You're going to get a double kill here. Okay, so everything's going great so far, except you seem to be getting all of the kills. And that can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. On a champion like Lee Sin, that is really, really not a good thing to happen, because if you are getting nothing but the kills in your team early game, then Lee Sin is such an early game based jungler that can have a lot of impact. You're giving the blue over to Ahri.
Failed.
Okay, you end up getting the blue. Okay, I was gonna say I generally always take the second blue as the jungler because I feel like it really does help the jungler out a whole lot, especially when you're not like super, super far ahead in terms of levels. The experience you get from blue buff really, really helps you stay even, if not ahead of the solo laners when you're doing well. But if you're giving away blue to Ahri or your mid laner, then you're only getting half the experience, which can cause issues. So if you're behind in the jungle, you especially do not want to give away your second blue. And even when you're doing well, most of the time I don't give away the second blue. But just make sure you're communicating with your jungler, or not your jungler, but your mid laner as a jungler, that you're not going to give them the blue. Your ultimate's got 25. I'm not sure which. I don't know if you're going to do wolves now or not, but like you've been doing a lot mid and top, like a lot of skirmishes and whatnot, but you haven't gone bottom at all so far. But that's what I would be prioritizing right now. Would be using this next ultimate bottom. I would have probably used the previous ultimate bottom, but I don't know, they just randomly went into your jungle. And Singe just trying to proxy here. Alright, so this might be another kill on Singe. If he plays it right, he can, after you use your E, he'll just fling you. But he took a tower hit. Alright. Yeah, you're probably going to get this kill, like, for sure. There's, like, no way he can really get away unless he had Ghost and ran the right way fast enough. He'll have to back off here, but Ryze can definitely secure this kill. He could walk back up, EQ, kill. Alright, good job. Oh, actually, you died to the poison. Oh.
Yeah. It's the
Let's go
dumbest
back.
shit ever.
that
lost
was
my
really
doubles.
close. I didn't actually, I thought he turned off the poison. Like, I guess that was a graphical error, but, like, I don't know. That was really close. I thought you'd actually live, but I didn't actually see the poison apply to you. But,
The thing is now I gave, not just I lost my doubles, but I also gave a 500 shutdown to Singed,
yeah.
who was not doing super.
Yeah. So things, I mean, like, you're doing well. It's just, like, your laners haven't been getting the kills, and then Pantheon's still applying pressure. And I've said this before when I give other lessons, but the worst thing you can really do as a jungler early game is die. Like, you can go 0-0-0 early game as a jungler, and it's still way better than being, honestly, like 3-2 or something like that. Because every time you're dead, or every second that you're spent dead, you're unable to get experience, you're unable to apply pressure, you're not influencing the game. So that death against Singe, yeah, that was actually a pretty big deal because you lost doubles and you kind of stopped your snowball. And bottom lane is still pretty dang far ahead, considering it's a Lucian versus an Ezreal. Ezreal does have 2 kills, but I mean, it's just an Ezreal. It's Lucian with 3 kills is a really, really high priority to shut down. You tried to gank mid, but Ahri kind of gave it away. Another thing I kind of noticed is you definitely know where you can gank and whatnot. Okay, so Pantheon sees you briefly, and then you back off. But another thing is, when I play Wukong, because of the decoy mechanics and whatnot, I actually think it's better to gank from the ledges than just from the bushes. Because if you're ganking from the ledges, you can utilize the Fog of War a little bit better. Like, if Talon was like a little bit further up, then he wouldn't have vision of this side. So you could get a little bit closer around the edge, and then you could, like, decoy, like, right here, still in the Fog of War, and come around behind. Whereas when you decoy in the bush and you run out, that's generally only going to work if they're hugging that side already. But that's just something to note when you're playing Wukong, or any jungler for that matter. Usually the ledges are the best way to gank mid lane. And I really utilize that on a lot of champions. It used to be Hecarim was like king of that because you'd come in from behind already and knock them towards your laner. But it's also pretty effective on Wukong. But because Pantheon saw you in the river, and also already started walking forward, it's pretty obvious to Talon that you were attempting to gank, even though you used decoy kind of far away. But so after that, like, I mean, you do have your ultimate up. You should be trying to either lane gank bottom or get a pink ward and put it in your tri-bush to try and maintain control of bottom lane.
Yeah.
Because the thing about bottom lane is if you get a firm enough grasp of bottom lane, Ryze can start teleporting down there and getting kills. Oh, what the heck? Lucian is like... Lucian was behind the turret. Alright, so... That's one way to shut down Lucian, is just to have him just randomly suicide bottom.
For
also,
some reason, Karma took the kill.
Yeah, Karma shouldn't have taken that kill. She should have at least... No, that's a big no-no. As a support, you definitely were going to get the kill, or Ezreal would get the kill if he just had thrown out a Q. But the other thing is, a thing to note about when you're jungling, do you use the F1, F5 key to check the status of your teammates?
I don't know what that is.
Okay, so the F1, the F1 to F5 on your keyboard, it's on the top row. What that's going to do is each one of your teammates' portrait will be like one of the F keys, like F1, F2, F3, F4, F5. And when you're playing in the jungle, you can just hit F1 and it'll immediately like center in on Karma. The camera will change to Karma's camera basically. And when you're jungling, like you're doing this and you've already used your abilities, I highly recommend you are using the F keys. So like you're just kind of looking around the map, because generally you can check the status of how they're doing by their HP bar and where they are in the minimap, but you want to see the actual positioning. So if you were to hit F5 or whatever, you would immediately center on Ryze and your camera would be right here, and you could tell the status of top lane just like that. And then you hit spacebar and the camera will instantly center in on you, back on you again. And that's just kind of a little thing that you can do to help out keeping like management of the lanes. And Ari gets super low. Okay, you flash ult here for Pantheon. Just need one more Q or E and you'll get him. That was honestly pretty risky because you didn't know where Talon was, and going past a turret like that, that could have just turned out to be a kill trade. Their blue is up though, because it was around 12 minutes, but Lucian's here. Yeah, you're dead. So that was a little bit too aggressive because they knew just where you exited and their blue is up. They could kind of guess that since they didn't see you leave, they kind of knew you were there. So just be a little bit more aware of like what you think the enemy team thinks that you're doing and what you would do in their shoes. Because if I was a Lucian or their bottom lane and I saw like that crazy dive mid, I'd probably be trying to collapse the kill you to begin with, and you know, just en route they would see you at blue anyway. So there's a little bit too greedy of you to try and get the blue in addition to that dive mid. So Karmo is a little bit out of position. I think she was there originally to try and, I don't know. I think she was like trying to get you out of there, and then she like got caught after she realized you were dead. Okay. So you still haven't used any, you still haven't pressured bottom lane at all, other than like coming bottom when Lucian was overextended.
Yeah.
So that's the main issue
problem.
I've seen this game is you like bottom lane's so important too because of all the buffs they've been giving to the gold to dragon. Like dragon is a super high priority. Once you get top lane ahead, you should be focusing on mid and bottom ganks like constantly. And when you get one successful gank, it usually turns into a dragon. Especially when your bottom lane's like healthy enough. But unfortunately, like Ezreal died there, so when you were coming in the gank, even if you were to double kill them here, you probably wouldn't be able to safely do dragon since Ezreal's already dead. So things are starting to get out of your control as a jungler. You're 6-2, you've got a great score, but unfortunately, it's, you know, you haven't really pressured the lanes that are starting to get out of hand, which is Lucian. Lucian has a third of their kills, and bottom lane has basically a total of half. Like he's got 4 kills, 2 assists, and Leona's 2-5 in terms of her kill participation. So bottom lane is the lane that's basically carrying for them. Talon's even, top lane, Singe isn't doing that hot. It's their bottom lane that's doing amazing right now. And when you see their Pantheon gank top like that, I don't think you should be, like, instead of like pathing top when you see Pantheon this low and Singe that low, you should be more encouraged to gank bottom and try to get that dragon, or just to do dragon. But since you were so close to top side to begin with, you couldn't really just, you know, go to dragon now and do it because they would have time to recall. But yeah, whenever you see the jungler top, obviously you would want to do dragon as soon as possible.
I wanted to see if Red was up because I saw him really low and.
Okay. No, this is a smart idea too. This is probably going to be a kill for you. Oh, almost. If you had waited 1 second longer, you would have just been able to kill him at red and get red. But now this is kind of an awkward situation because Ari was rotating to try and make something happen. Let's see what happens like to Ari, because she might have just walked up here. So like you're just about to see Pantheon, like just about, and you're waiting. You think Pantheon recalled, so you want to do it as soon as possible. That's fine, but at the same time, if he, you have to consider the fact that what if he stayed and was just doing doubles and possibly coming down? Because Pantheon, obviously, he doesn't want to leave his red up for very long. Ari, she doesn't have a great positioning mid, so she starts running up. But Ari, I mean, she should have realized that Talon was going to cut her off. So she gets jumped on by Talon. She's probably going to get 1v1'd. Talon, a Talon that goes even in lane against like an Ahri that doesn't build armor, and she didn't build armor, she's going to die. Even though she's got a level on Talon right now, this is looking really bad for Ahri. She's going to have to use her ult and flash to try to get away, or she'll die anyways. And she's going to try to fight here. She uses her ult to get away. You're backing out, and Pantheon gets to red. So that was kind of unfortunate. But, you know, meanwhile, like, you're still trying to apply pressure to the areas of the map that aren't even necessarily carrying, like I said. And their bottom lane is just slowly building up speed. But yeah, after I get like first blood top lane, I usually just try to focus on bottom lane. It's just that much more important. I've carried so many games just by you know, ganking bottom like once at the 6-7 minute mark after your second blue, use your ultimate, whatever you are, and then get that dragon. And then once you get the dragon on timer, it's easy to maintain it because the enemy team is much less likely to time dragon if they don't get it. So once you get it once, it's easy to keep on getting it. So use an ultimate mid, you kill Talon. I would normally call to do dragon immediately because you've killed their mid laner, but because their bottom lane's not, in a not so hot shape, I don't know. I probably wouldn't call to do dragon either, but it's still something you should consider because you have killed one of them. Yeah, but your bottom lane's like really afraid to even go up for CS right now. Luckily, the enemy bottom lane's not freezing or something like that. Their Singe is quite low. It's still going to be hard to kill him. He's got Ghost. He might just, like, if you can't kill him in one combo, he'll just get away. Also, another thing to note is when you get a large kill lead as any sort of jungler, even if you're carry or just tank, you want to make sure you get one pink ward and you put it in this bush, or you put it in the other bush on the other side. Like, one or the other. If you're losing and you're ahead on the jungler, then you would want to ward probably more defensively. Like, this would be a good spot for a pink ward because whenever their mid laner or jungler chunks a ward over in this area, you'll be able to clear it. But the game is pretty even, so you want to start warding according to how the game is going. The game is even, so your ward should be pretty much even, unless you feel comfortable enough, like pushing it that much further and start warding aggressively and looking for more aggressive plays in their jungle. But this is a game where it would be a-okay just to put like a pink ward in that bush or this bush, and just keep it there until they clear it. And it's likely to go stay there for a long time, but especially when you get super far ahead on jungle, you want to use that extra gold on that. So I'm not sure why you're here. I guess you're waiting for his red to be up, but unfortunately they saw you on a ward. Pantheon comes in here by himself. You're going to die as well, though, and Ahri won't be able to do anything. So that ended up just being a kill trade. Not the best, but what was your mindset going into just kind of walking into their jungle? Were you checking the red? Did you have it timed?
I really can't remember. I think it was checking red because and then Pantheon shows up and I just want to escape there and I ping Ahri, I think, and it just ends up being a 1-1.
Okay, so let me go all the way back because I want to talk about a topic that I think is really, really important to just anyone that plays the game at all. Whenever it's the mid game, whenever it's past like the 10-minute mark or so, you should start thinking about something called ward theory. And this is something that I think high-level players think about, but they don't actually have a word for it. And ward theory is basically you're making plays around the fact that you don't know if the enemy team has vision of you, right? So there should be two things going through your head whenever you're trying to make an aggressive play that's putting yourself vulnerable. And walking into the enemy jungle is putting yourself in technically a bad spot. So according to ward theory, what you should be thinking is, okay, how many spots am I going through? How many spots am I going through that is possibly warded? So you came through. You're coming through this route, right? You're coming through here. How many spots can possibly be warded here? Top lane usually wards, anywhere from like that bush to here. So technically, there's a chance that you've walked over a ward that Singe has put down. Mid laners, a lot of mid laners, even if they aren't buying wards, will use the trinket ward. Possibly here. Their pink wards are sometimes here. Wards are sometimes in this bush. And even more defensively, of course, if they're afraid of invades, if you've invaded on them in the past, then they're much more likely to start warding defensively, expecting you to do that. And that's in the bracket of gold and platinum, the players are, I would say, they're good enough to start realizing and adapting to stuff that's happening in the game. In lower brackets of play, like silver and bronze, you could possibly do the same type of thing to the same player in the game, and maybe even the next game, and they might not respond to it. Like, you could invade on every single one of their reds, but they might not ever buy a ward to try to defend it. So, according to ward theory, going back to that, how many spots could you have walked over that is possibly warded? A lot, right? So, if you're coming into this red, you should be anticipating there's a good chance that they know you're here. And you can use that. You can apply that to basically any section of the game, but it's very, very important to keep in mind whenever you're invading. what are the chances that they know I'm here? What am I going to do if they know I'm here? Am I still going to make this play happen if they know I'm here? And sometimes you can still make the play happen even though they know you're there if you have numbers advantage and stuff like that. But because they know you're here and your top laner is not involved in this play, Rise was recalled and their Singed was, they were able to equalize it. Like, you got one kill, or actually Ari got that kill, and you died. So 1-for-1 trades, not the best thing you should be aiming for as a jungler. Ari's actually in a bad spot. She's going to have to run away. Singed with red buff is going to just keep applying that. She even has to burn ultimate. Okay, so that, that chain of events actually was pretty negative on your team because Ari now has to recall. Talon is probably going to get this turret now. Yeah, Talon's going to get this turret, at least on this wave or the next wave. If Talon realizes he can use his Q on this turret, you can auto-attack then Q to get the turret faster. He's just going to tank it. Oh. Okay, so Talon should have gotten that turret, but he's probably still going to get it anyways. Bottom lane, low, Rise uses a TP.
Look at this.
Okay, so Talon backs off. He almost gets the turret. Rise is chasing the Leona. Now they're going to get Dragon. They've had control of bottom lane for a while now. So they just needed to make like one play and they could do Dragon. Honestly, they could have done Dragon way sooner since they already had control of it. They technically could just do it whenever they wanted. And here, you had to burn Flash, and I think you had to burn Flash and ult, and I think you're going to be okay, but, I mean, was it worth it, though? I mean...
no, I didn't get anything.
Yeah, you didn't get anything, and you lost your playmaking abilities. You don't have ultimate up for the duration until it comes back up. You don't have flash, so you were just doing that for a steal attempt. Whenever you're losing like this, you can't like do something crazy like that to try and equalize the game unless it's just it's a last resort. Like if it was Baron or something, I could definitely see that. But now, like, I mean, the chances of you getting that Dragon, even if you got Dragon, it would have just been like, you still lost your ultimate and flash. It would have been good that you got the Dragon, but it was just very unlikely that you'd get it since you guys didn't have like vision directly on it, and you couldn't really get there in time. So when you got away, I mean, your ultimate's not going to be backed up. You can't make a play or a strong play until your ultimate's up, and your flash is going to be down for 5 minutes. And a flash ult play with Wukong is really effective. So the fact that your flash is down is pretty big. So you guys are definitely starting to lose control of this game, but do you see kind of where the areas started to go downhill? It was definitely bottom lane.
Yeah. I should have definitely ganked bot way earlier. Well, I should have ganked bot lane. I didn't. I should have ganked it early.
Yeah. Like whenever you hit 6 on Wukong or even a Mumu, bot lane is typically the easiest. It's the most effective way to make a use out of your ultimate because bottom lane usually has the squishiest champions in it, and you can get Dragon immediately after. Riot is really, really pushing Dragon. Like in the last patch notes, I mean, they buffed the early game gold Dragon gives, and at the start of Season 4, Dragon gives a lot more gold. Dragon is really the key to carrying a lot of games as a jungler. It's just consistently controlling Dragon. It just gives so much gold.
I'm not good at it if I'm not playing Udyr. Like, I often just go in solo. I just get a pink and solo Dragon when I'm Udyr, but I'm just really bad at finding the coordination with my team.
It's really just about getting a good gank off. If you get a good gank off bottom lane, it comes easy. Because something like Wukong, you can very easily get a double kill bottom and then, translate that into a Dragon. So you come in here, I don't know what exactly they're doing, but they were like kind of like messing around with Ari, but this is a good play by you. You kind of responded to seeing your teammate being low, and they're very low themselves. So when you pop your ultimate here, Ari lanes an amazing max range charm, and then you just kind of combo that down. So you get a double kill there. That was actually a really good play, but unfortunately, Dragon's still down, so it's not like you can like, take that into a Dragon. Oh no, Pantheon could have gotten that if he had just walked around and just queued.
Oh, he did have vision of it.
Yeah, he did have vision in that bush, but he didn't have smite up, and he could have gotten it if he just walked up and queued. Ooh.
Can't remember what happens here. I think, yeah.
Your Q got blocked. Oh, another thing to note, we'll do like a small play where I slow it down. You got to consider that that was possibly warded as well. But in this play, be very careful about Pantheon shields. And what's going to happen here is I just made a note of this. When you go in and you EQ right away, and that's generally the best way to get the most burst off, and you're trying to kill Pantheon as quickly as possible, right? But what happens is you E in and you don't do an auto attack right after your E, so your Q ends up getting eaten up by Pantheon's passive, and your Q is going to do a whole lot more damage than just an auto attack. So your Q gets blocked. It would have chunked him a lot more if it actually had hit him there. You get the auto attack off there. Use your decoy. You move in behind him. You still get the kill. But the main thing to note was, just keep in mind that your Q on Wukong is considered an auto attack. So you want to get rid of Pantheon's passive before you use your Q on him.
Okay, yeah.
I'm seeing some good stuff so far. I mean, the main thing though is the fact that you haven't really pressured bottom lane. And that's just something you got to do a little bit more. But I mean, you're making stuff happen. You're making mistakes here and there, like when you tried to steal the dragon and stuff like that. And once you fix stuff like that, it's only going to up your game that much more. And your flash is still down. But small stuff like that. Like you might have been able to make a use of your flash and ultimate during the time frame that it was down after trying that dragon attempt or dragon steal attempt. And here they have like a super aggressive ward here. Generally, however deep they make it into your just kind of pushing, you have to consider that they ward that as well. It's the other part of ward theory. Since the Lucian and Leona have taken this turret, your second tier bottom lane, you kind of just have to consider that your jungle's probably entirely warded because you no longer have control down here. It's no longer safe to stay bottom. As your team, you basically have to start warding your own jungle because they just have access straight down to your inhibitor turret. And if they're out here farming like this, they could just walk through and come in behind and kill them. So yeah, the main thing this game is definitely their bottom lane is their bottom lane's doing phenomenal. I think if their bottom lane was just even, or your bottom lane wasn't this far behind, then you guys probably would have done way better once you start grouping. But I can already see the problem starting. Lucian is just really strong right now. You jump on the Lucian. He E's away. They're starting to peel.
This is so sad.
Flash. He uses both summoners, and yeah, they're just peeling right now. He barely lives. Face of the Mountain was used, I believe, by Leona. Yeah, Face of the Mountain definitely saved Lucian there. But yeah, I mean, it was a good attempt to try to kill the Lucian. He failed his flash over the wall. But I mean, that's just the Lucian that's level 13. You're basically level 12, and you have 9 kills. It's just Lucian is just doing that well. Ahri dies, Ryze dies. They're just pushing top. So yeah, once their bottom lane grouped, it was just they had too much of an advantage. The game is definitely not over yet at this point, but it's just you're fighting an uphill battle, and you don't really want to do that. As a jungler, you want to try to maintain control as much of the game as you can. Now, when you're behind like this, I'll go ahead and talk about how you'd make a comeback happen. The main thing is you guys cannot make any more aggressive plays. You just have to try and penalize the enemy team when they do something stupid. Like pushing out aggressively when you don't have wards. Just kind of ask your team to get gang banged by the enemy team as they're just rotating. Because the winning team, it's really easy for them to just go from lane to lane getting kills because they're just that much stronger. So, their duelist champions can just duel that much better. And they really don't need to farm anymore if they're stronger than you. They can just kind of start fighting. They know they'll start winning. So they're doing some stupid stuff top lane. They're playing a little bit too aggressive, and so that would be the area that I would try to focus on. But this Talon's finally going down. Was that only a? That was only a. So you guys, two of your team actually dies there for only one. You're trying to defend this solo, but that's going to be really difficult because of how strong Lucian is. But okay, you have to flash there. You're gonna have to recall right after.
Doing.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a situation where you can't really defend this turret when they're this far ahead. You can maybe stay behind the turret and see how they respond, because if they dive you might be able to ult them. But talking about how you would make a comeback in this situation. One when you're behind, wards are just that much more important than even when you're ahead. Like you have to buy wards when you're behind. I haven't seen you buy very many wards this game. Pink wards, green wards. You just need vision coverage. The jungler should at least have one pink ward out at once, and so should the support. And ideally, everyone else in your team would too, since you can only have one pink ward out per person. So the areas that you need to ward this game, I'm just pausing it because things are going to get even worse because everyone's getting picked off on your team. The areas that you really need to ward is, for one thing, you need to definitely have Baron warded when they have this much control. So you should have this bush warded, or just a ward, somewhere along this line, just to see when they're going through this river. You want to see when they're coming out of their jungle and they're going into your jungle to try to make a play. Because if you see like 3 of them just like walk through close to your blue, maybe you can ambush them with all 5 of your team or something like that. And your team is much more likely to make the right call if they see the enemy team. And it takes a much more advanced player to kind of guess where the enemy team is going to be when they don't have vision of it. Another spot would be like probably along these lines in the river, or you could even do it way more defensively. Like I said, you guys are behind, so you need to start warding more defensively. A ward here, maybe an ward there or there, just somewhere in your jungle where you can see when the enemy team is just coming through to make something aggressive happening on your side of the map. Because you'd be surprised how many times someone on the enemy team will just randomly walk into your jungle when they have a lead and expect to be able to get away with it. So you need to look to make like numbers advantage plays when you're behind. You don't really want to fight 5v5 in an open area when you're this far behind. It's like a 9k gold deficit for you guys. So you don't want to fight when the odds are even, and because the odds aren't even when you're losing the game. So you need to 5v5 fight under your turret, or only fight when you have numbers advantage. And that's when wards come into play, is you need to know when you have numbers advantage and when you don't.
Okay. I also have a question. When is it not worth ganking a lane that's losing?
Okay, generally, like I said, bottom lane is just really important. Like if your bottom lane's losing, it depends on what type of jungler you're playing, but like you have to equalize bottom lane. Like bottom lane's a lane where I've very rarely seen teams in solo queue and gold or platinum or even like low diamond have been able to make a comeback from once their bottom lane's super far behind because of the control of dragon. Like it's almost impossible to have control of dragon if your bottom lane's lost really hard. You have to try to equalize it. Top lane, however, top lane is actually really easy to still win if your top laner's behind, because of like the fact that if the enemy jungler spent a whole lot of time top, that gives you time to make stuff happen elsewhere. If you see them top past 10 minutes, that should be a free dragon. I'm talking about the jungler, that is. And also the fact that it is kind of hard for a top laner to continue, like unless they're playing something like Tryndamere or Riven, where they can like safely dive the second tier turret. After that first turret goes down for your top laner, they can generally just like freeze it. And because the top lane meta is all about teleport, they can freeze it. And if once the opposing top laner starts roaming, your top laner can still kind of make plays happen with the teleport. So to really answer your question, if top lane's losing, you shouldn't be like fretting that much. Like you should try to equalize it. If you can't, focus on bottom lane. But yeah, like I said, you need to make sure you equalize bottom lane. Mid lane's still pretty important, but I think bottom lane's really the way to carry solo queue as a jungler in any bracket of play. It's just, it has control of dragon. Mid lane, if you're crushing their mid laner, it still gives you access to dragon because you can just have your mid laner brute force bottom lane. So, and getting your mid laner ahead can allow them to roam bottom to win bottom. So it's kind of like a double effect. If you get mid lane ahead, they can help bottom lane out, and if you get bottom lane ahead, they can like win their lane and come mid and stuff like that. But top lane, you can get top lane ahead and then just like leave it by itself and let it be, and it'll be okay. And if it gets behind, like I said, it's not the end of the world, because they can still make an impact in the game if they know what they're doing with the teleport. Now, talking about this play, I'll go back and because I was talking, but this play, like I said, you should never fight when the odds are basically even in terms of numbers when you're behind. So when you guys are out like this, like look how far away you guys are from your turret. Like the range of safety under your turret is generally like, it's not even like fully in the tower range. It's like right here and behind the turret, obviously. This is like the lane of safety for like your inhibitor turret. But you guys are like really. This is the last person in the line of this team fight or whatever is like this far away. That's like an entire screen away from the line of safety of that inhibitor tower. And you just don't want to be this close to the enemy team when they have engagers. Like Pantheon could use his ultimate to just hard engage on you guys when you're not looking behind you. Flash W, Leona could ult. Even Talon could like flash E, ult, and like do a lot of damage. And if you try to turn to kill Talon, the team will catch up. You just don't want to be this far out when you're behind because they have hard engagers. You want to be like, it would be okay to be like maybe out here, like where, like just behind where your old turret, second turret was. If the enemy team was like over here, where like just in front of this guy in Rise, but like you need to make sure like you're out of flash engage range from something like a Leona. Like you got to keep in mind the range of their abilities and how they can engage on you. But yeah, you guys are in range to get engaged on. You're still here. If you continue to run back, you would have been fine. It's just they just kind of see you low in HP. They see an opportunity to engage. Singe is kind of chunked, but Ezreal's also not in this play. So this is not even a numbers advantage at this point. This is just flat out you guys are down a man and not under your turret. So the line of safety, like I said, is basically where Ryze is standing right now. Like if they were to hard engage where Ryze was standing, it would end up being probably a bad engage for them unless they hit multiple targets with AoE CC. But where you're standing, you have a lot of distance to cover to get to this turret. Like even if you flash, you're still not going to be safe. And I think they land the ultimate on the Ahri, and she flashes and you go in. I think actually what should have happened here is instead of you going in, I didn't realize you actually engaged this. Once Ahri flashed backwards, I know you panicked thinking that Ahri was going to get engaged on, but I think Ahri was actually okay. But you engaged outside of the turret, and you had an ultimate on multiple targets, but you guys are just that far behind, and your team tries to make do with the what you did, which was probably a good play if the game was even, but because you guys are behind, it turned out to not be a good play at all. So keep that in mind. Like you hit a lot of people with your ultimate, but it's not going to be enough to win a fight like that when you're this far behind, and you can't really see the gold difference. But you can kind of tell by kills and how many dragons they've gotten and how much map control they have in terms of towers. You can kind of estimate the gold difference.
Yeah.
You can also look at the item difference between laners, like your mid laner versus the Talon. Talon has Bloodthirster, Ravenous Hydra, Brutalizer. Your RA only has a DFG and a Death Cap. But Talon isn't the one that's really that far ahead. A lot of their gold difference is on the bottom lane. Like the Karma, the Ezreal versus the Leona Lucian. Lucian has 3 items to Ezreal's 1 and a third.
A third.
Yeah. So that's where the big difference is. But like everywhere else, it's just kind of like Talon even, is still stronger than Ahri. So, that was a good engage if you guys were even or ahead, but it's just because you guys were behind. That ended up kind of baiting your team into a fight outside of your turret, and you don't want to do that. When you're behind, you just want to abuse how hard it is to siege turrets. And that's something that not a whole lot of players do in gold and silver and platinum, is when they're behind, they just try to make picks happen constantly. And honestly, in high elo, if you watch the games, when a team is behind, they turtle. Like, they turtle hard, or the good players do. And it is really difficult to end the game unless you have just amazing poke when the enemy team is turtling. Because if it's a 5v5 fight under a turret, it's an extra man. Like, a turret counts as an extra person, pretty much, in a all-in fight. And, the turrets scale in strength. The inhibitor turrets are obviously going to be stronger than the outer turrets and, stuff like that. So the closer you get to the base, the stronger the turret's going to be as well.
Okay.
But the main thing you consider is just you want to fight when you have numbers advantage, and the tower counts. Tower would make it 6v5. But it's not to say you can't engage outside of your turret ever. It's just you would only want to do it when you have numbers advantage, and that's why wards are so important. And you guys are pretty far out of your turret right now. I mean, you don't have a whole lot of vision knowing where they are. They have great vision coverage. Your only ward is about right there at your blue. But yeah, I mean, like, the main habit I've seen most gold players and platinum players and even low diamond players have is once they're behind, they just constantly look to make fights happen. Like, They see someone in your jungle, you immediately just go in and fight them. And that's not always the best thing to do, because if you don't have great vision coverage, you don't know who else is there. And sometimes it can work. That's the main problem that kind of reinforces that behavior. It sometimes works. Sometimes the enemy team does stupid stuff, like they'll just send their AD carry randomly into your jungle by themselves, and you get a kill on them. And it shouldn't always be like that, though. So you engage here. Like, ideally, you would not... Like, this is another fight. You guys are fighting them out in the open. Baron also counts as an extra man for either team. Keep that in mind. If you're gonna try to catch the enemy team while they're doing Baron, you want to wait as long as possible. You want to wait for Baron to have reduced as much magic resistance to the enemy team as possible, done as much damage as possible, and also the lower it is, the higher chance you have of stealing it. And the best Baron fights are when the enemy team has been tanking Baron for 15 seconds or 20 seconds, and you come in as a jungler and you steal it, and then your team fights them while the enemy team still has that magic resist debuff, and they're all low from Baron. But unfortunately here, you guys are fighting them out in the open, and they only hit. If they hit Baron, it was only briefly. And Baron's like full HP now, so they obviously weren't hitting it for very long because it regens back to full health really quickly. And so you guys are just team fighting here, and it's just they still have a lead. It's going to be really, really difficult. Like, you'd have to be like outskilling your opponents by such a large margin to somehow come back from just the item deficit. Like, even if this Ezreal is like freaking double lift, it would be really ridiculously hard for this Ezreal just to match this Lucian's presence in a team fight, just because of the item difference. It's just going to be that much harder. So they won the team fight. They killed all of you except, or I guess you lived, but they're hunting you down. But 4 of your teammates died. They can just go and do Baron. Lucian is so far ahead, they could just 2-man it if they wanted. You're going to get away, but yeah. I mean, same thing. If you guys were going to fight them at Baron, you needed to get vision of it sooner and as safely as possible, and then fight them when they've been tanking Baron for a while. That'd be your last bet. But just fighting them out in the open, that's hoping for a little bit too much. That's just hoping that the enemy team just like horribly misplays it, and like somehow you hit a 5-man ultimate, and then like your team just steps it up. But it's just so unlikely that it's not worth even trying, because it's just not worth it.
Yeah, basically I thought that if I can distract Lucian and like 3 people, I thought that my team could kill the front line, but I guess not.
Yeah, it's just your Ezreal's items just aren't good enough at this point. Now here, I don't really know exactly like how Lucian got killed because I wasn't looking, but like they have Baron. So the other thing of looking at Baron is, I mean, Baron will looking at it like the numbers advantage game. Like I said, when you're behind, you never want to fight when you're down a man. Baron basically, I wouldn't even say Baron's a 6-man and your benefit when they have Baron buff. It's even stronger than that. Like, it depends on how late, how early in the game it is, but Baron buff does scale. But like Baron buff just adds so much potential gold to your team for the stats it gives. It's just a tremendous amount. It's a ton of experience for your team. It's a ton of gold, and then like ton of health, mana regen, AD, ability power. It just makes everyone on that team that much stronger. So especially when the enemy team has Baron, like, you do not want to fight them out in the open unless the gold was relatively even before they got Baron. And then sometimes you can like just outplay them, outmaneuver them. But it's just, the gold difference. If Lucian like doesn't even use any abilities in the team fight, his auto attacks will do more than like Ezreal's auto attacks and abilities combined. It's just, it's just that much harder to win when you're this far behind in gold. But like I said, the main thing you need to do, or try to do when you're behind, is set up wards, look to make plays happen when you have numbers advantage, and especially don't let the enemy team engage on you when the game, the odds are even, because you want to make sure you have numbers advantage when you fight when you're behind. And that can work by making picks happen, sending a 2v1 situation when they have a split pusher going, killing that guy, and then like trying to get another pick happen when it's a 5v4. But it's kind of hard to make a comeback happen when you're behind. It takes a lot of experience, and it's a learning effort. It's much easier to win a game when you're ahead, obviously, but it's very possible to win when you're behind. You just have to get your team on the right page. It's especially warding. It's just like you gotta spam wards, and it's a hard habit to break because, or for players to skip wards, because when you get behind, you still want to get the same items that you'd be able to get when you're ahead, and you won't be able to do that in addition to buying wards. It's just you have to find the balance of just having great ward coverage, encouraging your team to have good ward coverage when you're behind. It's just that much more important.
Yeah.
And then here, you guys kind of got picked off outside of your turret. Again, same thing. The turret hasn't really been utilized fully. The team fights have mostly been outside of the turret. And even here, this is like a place in between all the turrets. So, you know, you want to utilize the turret so it's like always beating on them while your whole team is DPSing them for it to be that 6-man. Lucian almost died to the turret. But yeah. I mean, I think you played pretty well this game. It's just the main things where you didn't pressure bottom lane enough, and your bottom lane got continuously further and further behind, and then dragging control. And then once you guys were behind, I feel like you kept jumping the gun a little bit too much in the engages.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid just to conserve your Wukong ultimate for when they're like sieging your turret. That's like the best Wukong ult is when they're just like flat out just hitting your inhibitor turret. Just jump onto them, CC, DPS their whole team while your turret's possibly hitting someone that's retaliating. But yeah. All right. Do you have any questions?
Not really. You went over basically everything.
Cool.
Yeah.
What other junglers do you play?
Udyr. I main Udyr.
You main Udyr. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you seen the changes to Ancient Golem on the PBE?
Yeah, 25% health or whatever.
Yeah, and the barb cloth. What is it called? It's the barbed armor or something. Yeah, it's the one where the damage over time on the jungle monsters. It looks really good. That's all I've got to say. If the changes to Ancient Golem actually go through and they don't nerf it at its current state, like it gives the 25% extra health, and they keep basically everything the same that's on the PBE. It's just going to revert the game back to like kind of Season 3 where it's just like tanky CC junglers. Maokai is going to become God again. Nautilus is going to be really good. It's going to kind of just reinvigorate the game.
I'm pretty sure they did it because a lot of people didn't think Ancient Golem was a late game item. It didn't really give those stats. So the 25% health will like help that.
Oh yeah, I mean it's gonna be broken. If those changes go through, it's gonna be broken. But I mean, I feel like Riot has been like kind of consistently changing the game just to change it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like they don't like the game to stay the same for a while because players get tired of it.
Or
like they don't want to have to deal with like when the Kha'Zix meta was going on. That was honestly like pretty toxic. I'm glad they kind of changed how everything went after that. They nerfed Elder Lizard because everyone was just playing like Pantheon and Kha'Zix and just running around and carrying as a jungler. But yeah, it's just gonna go full circle again. It's gonna be like tanky CC junglers are gonna be like really popular because they're gonna be really easy and effective to use. It's not to say that you can't play, you won't be able to play stuff like Udyr. You definitely will, and it still will be pretty good. It's just, it's going to be hard to beat this new Ancient Golem item.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope this helped you out.
It actually did. I'm gonna definitely focus on bot lane more. Do like one gank early top maybe, and then mostly focus bot and try and get dragons.
Yeah, it's really helpful. Like I promise you, I have a real life friend that also jungles, and I was just like, he was like, how do I carry from the jungle? And I was just like, just gank bot lane. Like that's what I told him. I was just like, if you played a game where the only thing that you did the entire game was just gank bottom lane, I promise you could win it. But you can't really do that with any other lane. Like you could do it to mid, but like only if the mid laner would then translate that advantage to bottom. Like
I usually do it when I have a Nasus top lane. I usually do that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so easy to ignore top lane right now because it is just the teleport meta. Unless the top lane is so... I really do focus top lane, though, when it is when they have like something like a Jax and you have like a Riven top or something. Something that needs to snowball or, if they get behind, they're going to be useless. That's when I camp top a lot. But yeah, bottom lane, so dang
Yeah.
important. And it's really Riot's doing. They just keep buffing Dragon, and bottom lane's the easiest. I think the bottom lane's the easiest lane to get kills in too, because
Really?
you can make it a 3v2 type situation. So you have like three different sets of abilities to set up kills with, and you know there's sometimes a lot of really squishy supports down there, anyways.
I always
And
feel it's so hard to get a gank like going in bot lane.
it depends. Yeah, that's true. Like if you have a bot lane that's like Soraka Graves or something, something like kind of weird, it can be really difficult. But if you have like a really good like Thresh on your team, or just a support that has CC to set up kills, it can be pretty easy. Because then it can just kind of come down to them hitting a hook on someone and then lanterning you, or if you have a
Yeah.
Leona on your team. But yeah, if you don't have a bottom lane without any crowd control and you don't have crowd control yourself, it can be difficult.
I
But
always do it when I have a Thresh on purple side. You know the Tribush on
yeah,
bot lane? Yeah,
yeah,
the lantern's just God. It's insane.
yeah. Thresh in general is just the best support. He's really broken. But
Not Braum.
well, Brahm's always banned. But I
Yeah,
haven't seen Braum in a ranked game in like the
I
patch.
did in a
Yeah.
while, and their bot lane went like 7-0.
Yeah, Braum is just too easy to use. Like to set up kills on Braum, you just auto attack something or
Yeah,
throw your Q out, and then it's impossible to kill the enemy AD carry because the Braum will just use the shield, and
yeah.
good luck getting damage through that. But
They should really nerf that shield. It's stupid. It's really
yeah,
stupid.
I agree. I think Braum on I don't know. Braum's kit is just broken. Like even if
It's
they nerf the
almost yeah.
numbers, it's just broken.
It's almost as silly as when they released Diana. It's almost as silly.
Yeah.
But Diana was just stupid as hell, and but now she's kind of bad, so it's cool.
She's yeah, she is pretty bad. It's just like you have to play Diana perfectly just for her to be like a normal mid laner.
Yeah, she gets like one of the bigger power spikes in mid lane, though. I'd say at level 6. I mean,
Yeah, but you'd be surprised how many players can't hit that Moonlight like the Q.
really?
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen a lot of Dianas because I go over a lot of replays. Like I don't know. It's a hard, like, let me put it this way. It's a hard ability to hit because it travels so
Difference.
slowly and it's a weird angle, and it's just like I think if they remade how Diana's Q worked, like if it would just went in a straight line or something like that, I think her win rate would go up significantly because it's
Yeah,
just I've seen so many players miss it, and it's so core to using her ultimate that if you miss it, you're gonna like lose out on that kill.
yeah,
But all right, I gotta get going now.
yeah. That was good. Thanks.
No problem. See ya.
See ya.
Don't forget to follow my Facebook, facebook.com/Valkrin, to look for my coaching giveaways. Twitch.tv/Valkrin is my stream. And I do paid coaching, guys. Valkrin, the Valkrin.com/lessons. That's where you can sign up for actual lessons with me. I appreciate it, guys. See you next time.